Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mainstream Indie Music channel. As the channel title suggests, we talk about all things indie, alternative music, throughout the span of music history, but a lot of times we focus on the movement starting in the early 2000 to mid 2000s. Now, in the history of this channel so far, from time to time, yes, we do cover big names and bands that want to make for them a name for themselves almost instantaneously. However, we've also covered bands that are perfectly fine just making music for the sake of art. They make music just for their fans. Or if they're a solo artist, sometimes they are not the lead singer and frontman of the band. They almost occupy a space in the background and are perfectly fine with that. This week is an artist that fits that description to a T. However, even though these artists do not have that front man look, they don't, get the interviews, they're not front and center, maybe they're not the first group of people that you think of with even indie music, their contribution to the music scene in indie and alternative cannot be understated. Morgan Kibby is one of these people. Her career overall, but especially her career with the band M83, really shows the amazing talent that she has and what she has done to indie music. In fact, to this day, she still contributes music to bands, some of them even her own bands, but also music scores to TV shows and movies. This week, we are going to talk about how she got such a big name for herself and the amazing career and circumstances that she found herself in her career. So sit back, please enjoy this episode. I hope you do. What's interesting is Morgan was almost raised the furthest spot away from the indie music scene. She was raised in California, but it's more so her musical roots that make her different. You think of a lot of indie artists as free-spirited, not liking structure, throwing in instruments and time placements wherever they want, and calling it art. However, Morgan was raised on classical music by her parents. She was part of a choir. She was heavily involved. Now, speaking as somebody who came from a very heavy music background in orchestra and choir and a little bit of band, I totally relate to it because the way that you think is different and the way that you organize music is different versus maybe somebody that kind of just picked up an instrument and learned it to play by ear. Because the way that you organize it with time signatures, you kind of think this is where maybe her background in film and TV scores come in because it's much more organized and thematic versus that kind of free open range that you think of. I think this is key to her involvement and really the success of the band M83. Now, around the year 2000, Morgan was picked up by kind of up-and-coming band M83. While they had some credits to their name, they were really at the time looking to expand and grow their amazing sound that they were hoping to build on. This was right in time for their massive album and probably one of the biggest indie albums of all time, Hurry Up, We're Dreaming. In fact, she is credited as being one of the composer and songwriters for their biggest hit, Midnight City. However, again, even with this huge, massive success M83 had after, getting these hits, Morgan, again, was not really interested in the spotlight. She did not want to get a huge songwriting claim credit for what she did on that album. Rather, she chose to stay once again in the background. Right when M83 kind of hit their huge peak, she went on and moved on to a new project. No bad blood between her and the group. She was kind of just ready for something different. And when it so happened was another band was hoping to kind of change the sound that they were developing, and that band was Panic at the Disco. This is long after the days of Ryan Ross being there. In fact, these are even a few albums after the departure of Ryan Ross when Panic at the Disco produced the album Death of a Bachelor. Morgan was behind the scenes, songwriting, putting the score together, putting the themes together, and song producing. And she later even followed up with their album after that, Viva Las Vengeance. Again, though, she did not want the spotlight. She wasn't up in front with the band, touring with them. She simply was just helping them create music. Now, while she was busy touring with M83 since 2011's Hurry Up We're Dreaming, and producing music with Panic at the Disco pretty much through the entire 2010s to mid-2010s, Morgan also was busy with her own work, White Sea. She produced, this was a solo project too, by the way. This was kind of like a passion project that she did. So imagine that. She's helping produce 2 albums for other bands. She's doing songwriting credits. She's doing a solo career. And she even helped produce music. Now we're kind of stretching on into the late 2010s, early 2020s. She did scores and compositions with not so much bands, with individual artists, Harry Styles and Lady Gaga, producing background songwriting credits and scores. What's interesting is not only if you kind of look at her musical history, but one of the last things to touch on and kind of like her legacy so far is if you look up her IMDb page. She has done so many scores for television shows and movies as well. I can't even imagine how busy she was, like right at the height of her career, just constantly getting a steady supply of work, kind of like expanding genres as well. If you look at the page, she is credited for having around 38 credits to different TV shows over the course of, I'd say, like 10 plus years. To kind of wrap up Morgan's career, which is still ongoing to this day, like I started this video, a lot of people that get into the entertainment industry, of course, want their faces plastered everywhere. Even in the world of indie music, this does come out from time to time, where a lot of people, maybe this will be a future video, argue, well, isn't that the sake of music, to kind of just get it out to as many people as possible? Well, once again, Morgan may be the exception to this story, as some people simply just want to make music for the sake of making music, for people to enjoy it, to not really keep themselves in one space. What do you guys think of her career? Let me know in the comments. See y'all next week.